Good afternoon. Here is OGTV News at midday. I am Bukola Agbakisu. Socioeconomic Rights and Accountability Project has called on President Bola Tinubu to probe the whereabouts of the $3.4 billion loan obtained in 2020 by the administration of former President Muhammadu Buhari from the International Monetary Fund. SERAP urged President Tinubu to direct the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice Lateef Fagbemi and appropriate anti-corruption agencies to promptly probe the allegations that the IMF loan is missing, diverted or unaccounted for. According to SERAP, the 2020 annual audited report published last week by the Auditor General of the Federation documents damning revelations, including that there was no document to show the movement and spending of the IMF loan. SERAP noted that the Auditor General was alleged to have declared that no information or document was provided to justify the movement and spending of the fund. The decisions of the umbrella bodies of the labor unions to jack up the 200,000 naira being considered as proposition for the national minimum wage to the federal government is attracting reactions from Nigerians. Ayodeji Olumi in the special report extracts the views of Nigerians that some people believe that more investment in economic development is the way out of the economic challenges rather than wage increase. This report.
The Nigeria Labour Congress had made a U-turn in its decision regarding the proposed minimum wage after the removal of fuel subsidy by President Bola Tinubu in his inaugural speech on the 29th of May 2023. The Labour body had kicked against the policy and had proposed a 200,000 naira minimum wage for workers in the country. Recently, the NLC, through its National Vice President Tommy Etim, said the 200,000 naira minimum wage being considered for proposition to the federal government was no longer realistic, considering the country's current economic situations. Varied reactions trailed this development, as some believed it is the best way to go, while others say infrastructural deficit should be invested on.
I cook for a living and do catering for a living. It's scared that when you come to markets and you cannot afford the normal everyday things that you used to get, it's alarming. They just have to really look into it. In our present situation now in this country, if you pay 500,000 naira minimum wage, it's not going to cover for nothing, because before, as the inflation rate is going out, things cost market is going and school fees is rising, house rent is rising for those of us that pay house rent, cost of shop rent is rising. So at the end of the day, if you say you want to pay somebody 500,000 as minimum wage, it's not going to cover for nothing.
Nobody can afford this. I repeat, nobody, whether states, federal or local, based on what they generate, based on what they get from federal allocation, they cannot. Everything is rested on energy and oil and gas in this country. So if something is done in that regard to reduce the prices, and the price can only be reduced if you have all these refinery functioning. If we can have stable electricity for everybody, then you are going to save that cost. Little for me. So everybody will save costs. So they should tackle issues.
Speaking with Ogun State Chairman of the Union, Comrade Ademola Hamid Benko, he emphasized that the Congress will base its national minimum wage negotiation on the current economic realities.
The inauguration just came this week, and they are still meeting. They are still, bringing new ideas, possibility of ensuring that the least worker of this country earn a living wage. Ab initio, we were thinking our minimum wage will be proposed on the price of 200,000, but alas, there was a call having, astray the global economic and possibly try to put Nigeria, side to side with other, developing nations, and he proposed $300.
Comrade Hamid Benko further appealed to workers, particularly in the states, to be patient with the union as their interests would be captured in the negotiations. Ayodeji Olumi, OGTV News.
Major locations, particularly neighborhood where markets are located in Abeokuta metropolis, are beginning to experience some levels of sanity due to the intervention of the task force set up by the State Ministry of Environment In a chat with OGTV News, the chairman of the Special Task Force Committee on Environment, Abeokuta, says he has a mandate to restore safety and orderliness to the streets, homes and neighborhoods. Olaide Oloye reports.
The level of compliance is near total at Gbangba Market, Yano Mortuary, and elsewhere, with the fear of Ogun State Task Force on Environment, the beginning of wisdom. Streets and walkways have been taken as hot spots for some breadwinners who now visualize a tough time ahead as the Ministry of Environment Special Task Force continue with its mandates. The chairman of the Special Task Force, Abeokuta, says he has the mandate to rid the society of shanties, illegal structures, parks and markets, noise pollution to mention this few.
Part of our mandates on the domestic level is to ensure that all the major markets across the states, they conduct their businesses in line with the management law of Ogun State. And part of it is that no market traders are expected to trade on the drainages or on the walkway. There is another new market at that Surulere area that was opened up by the last caretaker administration in Abeokuta South local government. Those places is still much vacant for people that has got no spaces as Yano Mortuary that they can move into. So they can still go there and take most of the places there and continue with their trading activities.
The affected traders on road medians, walkways and water drainages are saying there is nowhere to display their wares.
People even prefer to buy from people on the road rather than going inside the shop to patronize them. I don't encourage people to be selling on the roadside or to be on the walkway and be selling. Instead of that, there are available spaces that they can use, like this under bridge. So they can make use of this under bridge.
We plead with the government to allow us sell under the bridge so as not to put pressure on the walkways, as selling on the walkway is not comfortable for us too.
It's not as if I prefer here, but there is nowhere to stay. And this place now, people do patronize very well on the walkway. People that are moving around, they will come around to buy.
But the task force chairman insisted that was far from being the truth. Olaide Oloye, OGTV News.
There is heightened uncertainty in the currency market over the fortunes of the Naira this week, with investment analysts highlighting factors that will trigger further depreciation as well as the impact on Nigerians and the economy, while noting that the 61% depreciation of the Naira last week has worsened confidence in the national currency and will lead to a further rise in the cost of goods and services as well as an increase in debt service. They warned that the risk of further depreciation exists until the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, curtails growth in money supply, punishes currency manipulators, and clears the backlog of mature dollar obligations estimated at $5 billion. Meanwhile, the nation's external reserves, a major indicator of future exchange rates of the Naira, rose by 3.6% to $3.35 billion in January, reversing a 5-month decline that started in August. Data from the CBN shows that the external reserves rose to $33.35 billion on January 38 from $32.192 billion in December last year. This is in sharp contrast to the persistent decline recorded in the external reserves in 2023. The reserves declined all through the month of 2023, except for the very marginal increase in October. Consequently, the reserve closed the year at $32.192 billion, a 13.2% or $4.89 billion loss from $37.082 billion it recorded at the end of 2022. Still talking about the economy, power generation on the national grid crashed to 59.9 megawatts as the country's grid witnessed a nationwide collapse. Data obtained from the Federal Ministry of Power shows that electricity generation on the grid plunged from 2,658.75 megawatts to 59.9 megawatts as power distributors lost supply from the grid. This led to widespread blackouts across the country as power distribution companies blamed it on the collapse of the grid managed by the Transmission Company of Nigeria, an agency of the federal government. Also, the management of Abuja Electricity Distribution PLC informed its customers in a public notice that the power outage being experienced is as a result of a system failure from the national grid, which has led to a nationwide power outage. It, however, added that they are working with the relevant stakeholders to restore power as soon as the grid is stabilized. The federal government has restated its commitment to advancing the fight against cancer through research, education, and advocacy. The government explained that its goal was to improve cancer prevention, diagnosis, and treatment, as well as to enhance the quality of life for cancer patients and survivors. Addressing a press conference in Abuja to mark this year's World Cancer Day, the Director General of the National Institute for Cancer Research and Treatment, NICRAT, Professor Usman Malami Aliyu, explained that the commitment of the present federal administration to driving progress in cancer care extends to fostering innovation and discovery through substantial funding for cancer research in Nigeria. According to him, the strategic procurement of advanced cancer treatment equipment represents a significant stride towards closing the care gap and enhancing the infrastructure of cancer care across the country. The Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has expressed worry over the waivers granted to hospitals by the federal government for the employment of health workers in a bid to enhance healthcare delivery. NAD said the federal government should give clarity on the recent declaration of the Federal Executive Council on the relief of waiver for recruitment from the head of service for prompt follow-up. The government in January authorized the Federal Ministry of Health and Social Welfare to approve recruitment requests by qualifying health institutions. This decision was taken at the Federal Executive Council, which the Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, said would accelerate the hearing of healthcare workers and reduce delays. Pate noted that President Bola Tinubu directed the Council that the approvals of those waivers be delegated to the Ministry of Health and Social Welfare so that it would not have to go through the office of the head of the civil service of the Federation. However, the president of NAT, Dr. Dele Abdullahi, said there was a need for a policy statement on the statement made by the government. The National Youth Service Corps (NYSC) said the scheme has stopped posting corps members to states deemed unsafe as a result of the worsening security conditions in the country. The Minister of Youth, Jamila Ibrahim, disclosed this in an interview, recalled that several corps members have been abducted in some parts of the country during the one-year mandatory national service, raising fears about the sustainability of the scheme. But Ibrahim said the scheme has taken steps to secure NYSC members, including posting them only to safe states. She said as an immediate intervention of the government and the NYSC as an agency, they have actually stopped posting corps members to the very unsafe states. According to her, the security of corps members requires collaboration with other government agencies. The minister said the federal government is working on reforming the NYSC scheme to reflect the present realities of the nation, particularly in the area of the allowance. The Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Egbetokun, has reactivated the police Smart Force database system as part of its digitalization drive for the police force. Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Dejobi disclosed this in a statement. The main objective of the database is to tremendously enhance the competence and effective service delivery in all areas of policing, most especially in the smooth administrative management of the Nigeria Police Force as a whole. The system, which is integrated with modern technology and state-of-the-art appliances, will reduce reliance on manual and burdensome traditional administrative methods, thereby ensuring an effective management of the workforce of the force, the statement said. And as you go on the news, today is your opportunity to build the tomorrow that you want. And don't forget that you can watch us live on these platforms: Apple, Roku, Facebook, and Android devices. You can also watch us live on OGTV website, www.ogtv.com.ng/live, or send us email at info@ogtv.com.ng. And that was Media News. Many thanks for sharing your time with us. Good afternoon.
Ẹ káàsán, ìròyìn la mú wá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tẹlifíṣàn ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn OGTV tó kalẹ̀ sílùú Abeokuta. Bọ́lájí Akínyẹmí ni orúkọ tèmi. Àjọ elétò ẹ̀tọ́ ohun amúlùdùn àti ètò ọrọ̀ ajé pẹ̀lú ṣíṣe ohun gbogbo bó ti tọ́ àti bó ti yẹ, SERAP ti ké sí ààrẹ Bọ́lá Ahmed Tinubu láti wádìí owó tùlùtùlù ẹ̀yáwó owó tó dín díẹ̀ ní bílíọ̀nù lọ́nà $3.5 èyí tí ìṣàkóso àná Muhammadu Buhari yá lọ́dún 2022 lọ́wọ́ àjọ elétò àgbélárugẹ ìfẹsẹ̀múlẹ̀ ìdàgbàsókè àtìlẹ́yìn ètò ọrọ̀ ajé IMF. Àjọ SERAP rọ Tinubu láti pàṣẹ fún alákòóso ẹ̀ka ètò ìdájọ́ Lateef Fagbemi àti àjọ tó ń gbógun ti ìwà ìbàjẹ́ àjẹbánu láti tara ṣàṣà tètè wádìí ẹ̀sùn bí owó tùlùtùlù náà ṣe pòórá àti dídarí rẹ̀ gba ibòmíràn tí kò sí àlàyé fún un. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí àjọ SERAP ṣe sọ, àbọ̀ iṣẹ́ àyẹ̀wò owó ọlọ́dọọdún tọdún 2020 èyí tí àyẹ̀wò owó àgbà lápapọ̀ ilẹ̀ wa ṣe àgbéjáde rẹ̀ lọ́sẹ̀ tó kọjá ṣàfihàn rẹ̀ wípé kò sí àkọsílẹ̀ wípé wọ́n ná owó tùlùtùlù náà èyí tí wọ́n yá. Àjọ SERAP sọ wípé àyẹ̀wò owó àgbà ni wọ́n fẹ̀sùn kàn wípé ó yẹ kó ti kéde wípé kò sí àkọsílẹ̀ bí wọ́n ṣe ná owó tùlùtùlù náà. Ìpinnu ẹgbẹ́ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ láti ṣe àlékún sí $200 tí wọ́n ń gbèrò fún owó oṣù àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ tó kéré jùlọ tí wọ́n gbé ka iwájú ìjọba àpapọ̀ ní onírúurú èròǹgbà ti jẹyọ lórí rẹ̀. Nínú àkọsí ìròyìn yìí ni akọ̀ròyìn wa Ayọ̀dèjì Olúwúmi ti bójú wo èrò ọkàn àwọn ènìyàn tí wọ́n gbàgbọ́ wípé ìdàgbàsókè àwọn ohun tí à ń ṣe lábẹ́lé lè wá ìyanjú sí ìpèníjà ẹ̀ka ètò ọrọ̀ ajé. Ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ ìròyìn ọ̀hún rèé síwájú sí lẹ́nu Mọ́túrà Ṣọ́làǹkẹ́. Ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́.
Ẹgbẹ́ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ lórílẹ̀‐èdè Nàìjíríà ló ti yí ìpinnu rẹ̀ padà lórí ti owó oṣù tó kéré jù fún àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ lẹ́yìn owó àfikún epo rọ̀bì èyí tí ààrẹ Bọ́lá Tinubu tí ó yọ kúrò láti ìgbà tó ti sọ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ rẹ̀ tó sọ ní ọjọ́ 29 oṣù karùn-ún ọdún 2023 ní ẹgbẹ́ òṣìṣẹ́ ti gbèrò pẹ̀lú àgbékalẹ̀ owó tí ó tó $200,000 gẹ́gẹ́ bí owó tí wọ́n retí fún àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ tó kéré jùlọ lórílẹ̀‐èdè yìí. Nílọ́lọ́ yìí ní igbákejì ààrẹ àpapọ̀ ẹgbẹ́ òṣìṣẹ́ ṣàlàyé wípé wọ́n ti ṣe àgbékalẹ̀ èròǹgbà wọn náà fún ìjọba àpapọ̀ láti lè ṣe àgbéyẹ̀wò ní pàtàkì lórí ipò tí ètò ọrọ̀ ajé wà ní lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ báyìí. Onírúurú awuyewuye ọ̀rọ̀ ló ti ń jẹyọ nípasẹ̀ àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ èyí tí ẹgbẹ́ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ ti ń gbé, bí àwọn kan ṣe gbàgbọ́ wípé wọn yóò lè ṣe àṣeyọrí nípa àwọn ìgbésẹ̀ wọn ní àwọn kan tọ́ka sí wípé ṣé ìjọba tilẹ̀ lè ṣe. Alága ẹgbẹ́ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ ní ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn Comrade Adémọ́lá Ahmed Benko ni ó tọ́ka sí wípé ẹgbẹ́ náà ti ń làkàkà láti ṣe ètò ìdúnàdúrà lórí ti ètò owó oṣù tó kéré jù fún àwọn òṣìṣẹ́. Comrade Ahmed Benko túbọ̀ rọ àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ ní pàtàkì ní ìpínlẹ̀ wípé kí wọ́n mú sùúrù pẹ̀lú ẹgbẹ́ náà torí wípé ohun tí ó jẹ́ ìfẹ́ àwọn ọmọ ẹgbẹ́ ni wọ́n làkàkà láti ṣe.
Àwọn ibùdó nílùú Abeokuta ní pàtàkì jùlọ àwọn ọjà ni wọ́n ti rí àyípadà rere láti pàṣẹ ìgbìmọ̀ ojúlalákọ̀ọ́fínsọ́rí tíjọba ìpínlẹ̀ Ògùn gbé kalẹ̀ lórí ọ̀rọ̀ àyíká. Nínú ìfọ̀rọ̀wérọ̀ tí ikọ̀ akọ̀ròyìn iléeṣẹ́ wa OGTV ṣe pẹ̀lú alága ikọ̀ náà Farouk Akitunde ló ti ṣàlàyé pé àṣẹ wáyé láti ṣe àfọ̀mọ́ tó lè ṣe ààbò àti ṣíṣe ohun gbogbo bó ti tó àti bó ti yẹ láwọn òpópónà ọjà àti ládùúgbò. Akọ̀ròyìn wa Ọláìdé Ọlọ́yẹ ni ó ṣe àrùnkúnná ìròyìn náà. Abọ́n tó ń bọ̀ rí ẹ jẹ́ ká gbọ́.
Àwọn ènìyàn tẹ̀lé àṣẹ ikọ̀ amúṣẹ́ṣe lórí ọ̀rọ̀ àyíká nípínlẹ̀ Ògùn lọ́jà gbàǹgbà ìyànà mọ́ṣúárì àti àwọn ibòmíràn. Orí títì àti ibi tí ẹlẹ́sẹ̀ ń gbà kọjá tó di ibi tí àwọn ènìyàn ti ń ta ọjà ni kò rí bẹ́ẹ̀ mọ́ gẹ́gẹ́ bí iléeṣẹ́ tó mójútó ọ̀rọ̀ àyíká tí ikọ̀ amúṣẹ́ṣe wọn tẹ̀síwájú dúró lórí àṣẹ rẹ̀ wípé kí wọ́n má ṣe pàtẹ ọjà sí ibi tí ẹlẹ́sẹ̀ ń gbà kọjá àti ẹ̀bá títì mọ́. Alága ikọ̀ amúṣẹ́ṣe náà Farouk Akitunde sọ wípé òun ní àṣẹ láti ṣe àfọ̀mọ́ àwùjọ wọ́n lọ́wọ́ kíkọ́ àwọn ibùsọ̀ ìtọ̀nà ibùdókọ̀ tí kò bá òfin mu àti àwọn nǹkan mìíràn gbogbo. Àwọn oníṣòwò tí ọ̀rọ̀ náà kàn tí wọ́n ń pàtẹ ọjà wọn sí ibi tí ẹlẹ́sẹ̀ ń gbà kọjá àti ojútọ̀ ọ̀gbàrá sọ wípé kò sí ibi tí àwọn yóò pa àtẹ ọjà wọn sí mọ́.
Àtọ́dá àti jẹ́ wa ládẹ̀ ṣe wà ń bẹ̀. So nǹkan tí àwọn fẹ́ bẹ ìjọba kọ́jọ kọ́ ṣàánú wa gbogbo wa náà la ní ọmọ bílù ṣe rí kọ́ bá wa ṣe abẹ́ bíríìjì tá bá wá abẹ́ bíríìjì àwa náà kúrò because bíbá ìta àwa náà òjò máa pa wá òun máa pa wá kò dùn mọ́ wa lọ́wọ́ àdẹ̀rí ṣọ́ọ̀bù.
Àmọ́ ṣá alága ikọ̀ náà tẹnumọ́ wípé kò sí òtítọ́ nínú ohun tí wọ́n sọ.
Ọ̀gá àgbà pátá fún iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá Olúkáyọ̀dé Ẹgbẹ́tókun ti túbọ̀ jẹ́ kí ìdàgbàsókè bá ìlànà ètò àmójútó iṣẹ́ ààbò gẹ́gẹ́ bí ara ìgbésẹ̀ nílànà ìmọ̀ ẹ̀rọ tìgbàlódé ní iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá. Alukoro iléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá Múyìwá Adéjọbí ló ṣípayá ọ̀rọ̀ yìí nínú àtẹ̀jáde kan. Àfojúsùn ìgbésẹ̀ náà ni láti túbọ̀ ṣe àmúgbòrò ìkájú òṣùwọ̀n àti ṣíṣe iṣẹ́ dáradára ní ẹ̀ka gbogbo níléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá ní pàtàkì jùlọ lẹ́ka àmójútó àkóso níléeṣẹ́ ọlọ́pàá nílẹ̀ Nàìjíríà lápapọ̀. Ìlànà ètò náà èyí tó wọnú ìlànà ìmọ̀ ẹ̀rọ ìgbàlódé yóò mú ẹ̀dínkù bá ohun tó nira láti ṣe tí yóò mú àmójútó iṣẹ́ tẹ̀wọ̀n sí dáradára. Ọ̀rẹ́ wa, ó ní àǹfààní tó ní láti gbé ìgbésẹ̀ èyí tí o fẹ́ fún ọjọ́ ọ̀la rẹ kó lè dúró re. Tẹra mọ́ ìgbìyànjú rẹ nítorí pé ọ̀la tóbi púpọ̀. Má ṣe fi òní bà ọ̀la rẹ jẹ́. Yóò ṣe ṣe kò ní jù báyìí lọ fún ti ìròyìn wa ti ọ̀sán yìí. Mo kí wa lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí pé a kú ọrọ̀ ajé o.
The biggest game on the continent.